Have you ever wondered what makes someone think about you all the time, want your attention, and eventually realize your true worth? Like suddenly, that person who treated you as insignificant sees that they can't stop thinking about you, as if something about you has changed completely. Over time, this person begins to miss the connection they once ignored. It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But it's not. It's real. And it happens when you decide to cut the ties that kept you as a puppet in their hands. When you stop feeding their need for approval and start focusing on your own strength, something shifts. It's by stepping back, taking ownership of your power, and creating distance that you begin to create a magnetism in them because of your absence. It's not about ignoring or disappearing without explanation, but about taking control of your life and letting them experience what it's like to live without you. At this point, they realize that your presence was more than just convenient. It was a source of stability, energy, and something that, although hard to define, was impossible to live without. Imagine this. They go about their routine, but something feels off. The messages they used to get from you no longer arrive. The familiar sound of your voice is absent, and suddenly everything feels a little colder, a little emptier. They try to fill the void with distractions, with other people, but nothing feels the same. It's in those moments of silence and solitude that they start to understand how important your presence was. That absence becomes a mirror, reflecting everything they failed to value when you were around. Now, with you gone, the realization hits harder than they ever imagined. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder, presence confirms it. This saying sums up why distance can have such a profound impact. Creating space allows them to feel the weight of your absence, recognize what they lost, and realize just how much you meant. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes it's in the void we leave behind that our true value is felt the most. So, my Stoic friends, here's today's affirmation. I am extremely valuable. Say it out loud, write it in the comments, and show the world that you know your worth. You're no longer a puppet in anyone's hands, no longer available to those who failed to appreciate you. Show that you've taken control, and now you're strong and unshakable in your self-esteem. Before we dive into the reasons why people come back after you create distance, we need to talk about something essential. This is the foundation of everything we're going to explore. And believe me, you won't want to miss it. Put aside anything else you're doing and pay attention, because understanding this can completely change the direction of your story. Now, imagine you've distanced yourself, created that space. What now? Is that enough? Not exactly. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned that the focus of the distance should be on you. That's the secret. If you think simply disappearing solves everything, you're mistaken. Sure, they may start to miss you, but that only happens if there's already a spark in their heart, a hidden flame of affection for you. But what if that flame was never there? What if that person doesn't miss you, but only the convenience you provided, the role you played as a puppet in their life? Here's a hard truth to swallow. If this person treated you as disposable, like a puppet, they never truly valued you. And if they never valued you, your absence might not affect them the way you expect. So now what to do? This isn't the end of the road. Not at all. The reasons I'm going to share now are the ones that can make them start to crave your presence. But here's the trick. These reasons will only work if you truly understand them and let them guide you down the right path. This is how you light the fire in their heart. This is how you turn the tables. Now that you have a clearer idea, let's move on to the part you've been waiting for. The reasons why they'll come back, wanting your presence. And friends, please pay close attention to each of these reasons, because each one is crucial for transforming their indifference into desire. First reason, the shock of unexpected growth. Now let's talk about the first powerful reason why they'll start to miss your presence after you create distance. The shock of unexpected growth. This is where things really get interesting. And I want you to pay attention because this is the turning point. Picture this. You've distanced yourself from someone who used to take you for granted, someone who might have never recognized your true value. They expect you to stay the same, predictable, always there, always available, always the person they could count on at any time. But what happens when you don't just fade into the background? What happens when, instead of hiding, you show up as a completely transformed person, someone they barely recognize because of all the growth you've gone through? Let me tell you, this is a real shock. When you take time not only to distance yourself, but to actually work on yourself, you're doing something incredibly powerful. You're taking control of your story. You're no longer allowing someone else to define your worth or dictate your actions. On the contrary, you're investing in your own mental, physical, emotional, and even spiritual development. And this, my friends, is where the magic happens. At first, they may not notice. Maybe they'll think, oh, they'll come back, or it's just a phase. But when they begin to see the changes in you, it will hit them like a shock. They expected the old you, the one who would come crawling back. Instead, what they find is a stronger, more confident, and more self-assured version of you. And this is where the surprise factor comes in. Why is this so important? Simple. People want what they can't have and what they can't fully understand. When you show up as someone who has grown in an unexpected way, they no longer feel like they know you completely. You've shattered the image they had of you, and now they find themselves trying to figure out who you've become. This shift in dynamics is key because it forces them to see you from a new perspective. Suddenly, the one who feels insecure and full of doubt is them. As the philosopher Heraclitus said, the only constant in life is change. By embracing change and focusing on your growth, you're not just evolving, you're becoming someone impossible to ignore. Now, let's get realistic with an example. Imagine you were in a relationship where the other person thought they had you figured out. They knew your routines, your habits, your weaknesses. They felt comfortable, maybe even too comfortable, knowing you'd always be there, no matter what happened. But then you decided enough was enough. You took a step back, not just to create space, but to reinvent yourself. You started working out, took up new hobbies, read more, maybe even explored new career opportunities. You didn't do this to impress them, but for yourself, to become the best version of you. Let's fast forward a few months. You run into this person on the street, at the mall, downtown, or at a mutual friends gathering. They expect to see the same old you, but instead, they see someone more confident, happier, more at peace. You're radiating new energy, impossible to ignore. They're surprised, maybe even a little intimidated. That's the shock of unexpected growth. They never saw it coming, and now they're left wondering, what else did I miss about this person? Let's be honest, there's something funny about this, right? Like when you haven't seen a friend in a while, and they show up with a fit body, a new haircut, and a posture they never had before. You think, wait, when did that happen? It's funny, but also a little humbling because it reminds us that people are always changing, growing, and evolving, often when we least expect it. The same applies to relationships. When someone thinks they know you completely, they stop paying attention and become complacent. But when you shake up that stability with your growth, it's like hitting the reset button. Suddenly they're intrigued, curious, maybe even a little envious of the new you. This brings us to a wise quote by Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This quote is incredibly relevant because it sums up exactly what we're talking about. Your growth, your transformation, all of that is in your hands. You can't change how others see or treat you, but you can change how you see yourself and how you grow from your experiences. By focusing on your self-improvement during the time of distance, you're not just waiting, you're actively taking control of your life. This strength, this inner power, is what makes you so irresistible. When you re-enter their radar, they begin to realize you're not the same person who left. You're someone stronger, more confident, and far more attractive. So, what's the lesson here? Simple. Never underestimate the power of your own growth. When you step back and use that time to become the best version of yourself, the impact is undeniable. You're no longer the person they knew. You've evolved beyond their expectations. Remember, this isn't just about proving something to others, but about proving something to yourself. You have the power to change, grow, and become someone you never even expected. So are you ready to embrace this journey of growth? Ready to let your unexpected transformation be the awakening they never saw coming? Let's do this together, everyone. Stay strong, keep growing, and watch as they come back, wanting this new version of you even better. Now, let's move on to the second reason, the magnetism of self-sufficiency. All right, folks, let's dive into the second reason why they'll start to crave your presence after you've created distance, the magnetism of self-sufficiency. This concept is incredibly powerful because it taps into something very deep in human nature, the irresistible attraction of someone who doesn't need anyone to feel whole. Imagine this. You took a step back from a relationship or situation where you used to be very involved. Maybe you were always the first to act, the one who cared to make sure everything was okay. But now, you've changed. You focused on yourself. Instead of relying on others to validate your self-worth, you started validating yourself. You've become self-sufficient, independent, and you're thriving in your own company. And let me tell you, there's nothing more attractive than that. When you develop self-sufficiency, you're sending a clear message. I'm not here because I need you. I'm here because I chose to be. This way of thinking is incredibly appealing because it shows that you don't rely on anyone to be happy or feel good about yourself. People are naturally drawn to those who exude confidence and independence. Self-sufficiency becomes like a magnet that pulls them in. Think about it. When someone is always chasing after you, it's easy to take them for granted. But when that person takes a step back and starts focusing on their own growth, you begin to see them differently. Suddenly, they're no longer the one always available. They've become someone at ease with themselves, someone who doesn't need anyone else to feel complete. And that, my friends, is extremely attractive. There's a bit of irony in this, isn't there? The more you focus on yourself, the more others want to be around you. It's like when you walk into a room with your head held high, completely confident in who you are. People notice. They're drawn to your energy, your self-assurance, and they start wondering, what happened to you? Let me give you an example. Imagine you were in a friendship where you were always the one giving your time, energy, and support. But now, you've decided to take a step back and focus on your own needs. You start spending more time doing things that make you happy, whether that's hitting the gym, discovering a new hobby, or simply enjoying some time alone. You're no longer waiting for their calls or messages because you're busy living your best life. Fast forward a few weeks, and you start to notice something interesting. That friend who seemed indifferent to your efforts suddenly begins to show more interest in what you're doing. They reach out more, ask about your life, and want to spend more time with you. Why? Because your self-sufficiency made you more appealing in their eyes. They're drawn to the fact that you're thriving without them, creating a magnetism they can't resist. This isn't about playing a pretend you don't care game or manipulating others. It's about genuinely becoming more self-sufficient and letting that inner strength shine. When you no longer rely on others for your happiness, you become someone who deserves to be desired. Someone others want to be around, not because they need you, but because they're genuinely attracted to your energy. As philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your why becomes your own growth, your own happiness, your own self-sufficiency. And when you live with that purpose, it radiates outward, creating a magnetism others can't help but notice. So here's the lesson. Self-sufficiency isn't just about being independent. It's about being complete within yourself. When you focus on your own growth, you naturally become more attractive to others because you're no longer seeking validation from them. You're content in your own company, and that satisfaction is magnetic. People begin to desire your presence, not because they think you need them, but because they see the strength and independence you've cultivated in their absence. If everything's clear so far, then this video definitely deserves a big like. Hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these amazing tips. Now, folks, I want your full attention as we move into the next part of the video. Trust me, this is where things really start to get interesting. Don't let your mind wander now. Staying focused is key. You've already invested your time to get here, so why not invest just a little more and understand the root of what we're talking about? Reason 3, the envy of your new confidence. So folks, let's talk about the third reason they'll start desiring your presence after you've created distance. The envy of your new confidence. This is a real game changer because it touches on a very strong human emotion, envy. But we're not talking about the negative, destructive kind of envy. We're talking about the type of envy mixed with admiration, the kind that makes people stop and notice the new, confident you. Imagine this. You've spent some time working on yourself, focusing on your growth, and now you walk around with confidence that's impossible to ignore. You're no longer the hesitant, insecure person constantly seeking approval from others. Instead, you've become someone who knows their worth, someone who walks into a room with their head held high, who's not afraid to take up space. And let me tell you, confidence like that is contagious and, at the same time, a bit intimidating. When you distance yourself from someone who took you for granted and use that time to build your confidence, the impact is inevitable. Something remarkable happens. They start seeing you in a new way. They notice how you carry yourself, how you speak with assurance, how you seem so comfortable in your own skin. And that confidence, it's enviable. It's the kind of confidence that makes people wonder, how did I not see this before? You get it? Confidence is attractive because it shows self-sufficiency. It shows you're not looking for approval from anyone else. You've found it within yourself. And when people notice this, they become motivated and curious about the transformation you've undergone. They can't help but feel a hint of jealousy. They start comparing themselves to you, wondering why they don't feel that same level of self-sufficiency. But this jealousy doesn't make them resentful. On the contrary, they begin to want what you have. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you were in a relationship where your partner always seemed to be in control. They were the confident one, the one making decisions, while you were more passive, always following their lead. But now, after some time apart, you found your own confidence. You worked on yourself, faced your fears, and came out stronger and more self-assured. The next time you see each other, they won't be able to ignore the change. You're no longer the person who shrank in their presence. Now you stand tall, speak your mind, and radiate a level of confidence that takes them by surprise. They might smile and pretend to be happy for you, but deep down, there's a voice saying, "Wow, I wish I had that confidence." And that's where the envy starts to grow. This new confidence of yours doesn't just change how they see you, it changes how they feel about themselves. They start to realize that they were taking advantage of your insecurity, and now the balance has been restored. You've leveled the playing field. You're no longer the insecure person they once knew. You've grown, evolved, and become something entirely new and attractive. There's something almost magical about confidence, right? It has the power to shift perceptions, alter dynamics, and create a kind of attraction that's impossible to resist. When you're confident, you don't just change how others see you, you change how you see yourself, and that change is clear to everyone around you. As the brilliant author and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Self-confidence is the first secret of success." Your new confidence is rooted in self-assurance, in knowing that you're capable, worthy, and deserving of all the good things life has to offer. When you trust yourself, you no longer need approval from anyone else, and that's where true confidence comes from. So, how does this newfound confidence make them want to be around you? Simple. They notice the power shift. You're no longer seeking reassurance or approval from them. Now, you're following your own path, confident in who you are and what you have to offer. This shift is both intriguing and a little intimidating. They start to envy the confidence you've gained, and in that envy, they're drawn back to you, wanting to be part of your life again, now with different expectations. Here's the lesson. Confidence is magnetic. When you cultivate it within yourself, it doesn't just change your life, it changes how others perceive you. They start to desire this new, confident version of you because it's something they aspire to be, something they admire, and yes, something they envy. Reason 4, the intrigue of unpredictability. Now let's move on to the fourth reason why they'll start to crave your presence once you've created distance. The intrigue of unpredictability. This one's powerful because it taps into something that keeps people engaged, the allure of not knowing what's coming next. Picture this. For a long time, they thought they had you completely figured out. You were predictable, reliable, always there when they needed you. They knew your habits, your routines, and even how you'd react in certain situations. But now, you've taken a step back, distanced yourself, and worked on yourself. Suddenly, you're not as easy to understand. You're not as predictable as before, and that's when the intrigue begins. Unpredictability is fascinating because it breaks the routine. It makes everything more interesting. People start wondering, what's going on in your life? Why have you changed? What will you do next? When you were always available, always doing the same things, they didn't have to think twice about you. But now, every move you make seems fresh, different, and even a little mysterious. They were used to you being the planner, the one always taking the lead. But now, you've stepped back. You're still around, but you're no longer so eager to take charge. You've started doing your own things, maybe even exploring new interests you hadn't shared with them before. Suddenly they find themselves wondering, why aren't they calling me? What are they doing? This uncertainty makes them think more about you, creating a sense of mystery that wasn't there before. Unpredictability also gives you a sense of control. When people can't predict your actions, they're more likely to stay close, wanting to see what you'll do next. It's a subtle way of shifting the dynamic in your favor. Instead of you always wondering what they're doing, now they're wondering about you. And that, my friends, is a strong position to be in. As philosopher Alan Watts said, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. By embracing change and unpredictability, you're not just keeping up, you're leading. You're setting the pace, and they're trying to keep up. So, how does this make them want your presence? Simple. People are drawn to what they can't easily understand. When you become unpredictable, you become interesting again. They want to know more, understand the changes you've gone through, and in doing so, end up thinking more and more about you. So, how are you embracing unpredictability in your life? What changes have you made that leave others curious? Remember, being unpredictable isn't about playing games. It's about growing, evolving, and keeping life exciting. Let's keep them guessing and watch how they can't help but crave the new, intriguing version of you. Reason 5. The realization of what they've lost. Let's explore the 5th reason why they'll start to want your presence after you've pulled away. The realization of what they lost. This is deep because it's about that moment when they finally wake up and realize how much you meant to them and how much they lost by taking you for granted. Imagine this. You stepped back, focused on your growth, and started living your best life. Meanwhile, they continue their routine, thinking you'll always be there, just like before. But as days turn into weeks, something begins to change. They start to notice the absence of your messages, your calls, your presence in their lives. At first, they might ignore it, thinking it's not that important. But slowly, they begin to realize you're no longer around and life feels a little emptier without you. This realization hits them unexpectedly. Suddenly, they start to notice all the little things you did that made their life better. Maybe it was the way you always listened, how you made them laugh, or how you were there when they needed support. These are things they probably took for granted when you were always around, but now, with your absence, they stand out clearly. Here's the thing about loss. Often, it takes losing something to truly appreciate its value. When you were always available, they didn't think about what life would be like without you. But now that you've created this distance, they're forced to face it. And in that confrontation, they start to realize that maybe, just maybe, they were wrong to take you for granted. Think about it. Have you ever lost something valuable? Maybe a ring you loved or something dear to you. At first, it might not seem that important, but over time, you begin to miss it. You start regretting not appreciating it more, not valuing it while you had it. This also happens in relationships. When you step back, they begin to miss the value you brought to their life. And that realization can be powerful. But it's not just about them feeling bad for losing you. It's about them understanding the depth of what they lost. They start recalling moments in their mind, reliving the good times you had together, the support you gave, and the joy you brought into their lives. This process of reflection can be a turning point, and often, it leads to strong regret. And here's where it gets interesting. Once they realize what they've lost, they want it back. They crave that feeling again, that sense of connection and comfort that only you provided. But here's the catch. They know they can't just come back into your life and pick up where they left off. They know they need to do something. They need to show that they deserve a place in your life again. As the saying goes, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. This is the essence of this realization. They took you for granted and now they're paying the price. But in the loss, in this awareness, they start to see you for what you really are. Someone who brought immense value to their life, someone they should never have let slip away. So, how do you think the people in your life will react when they realize what they lost? Has anyone ever come back to you after realizing your worth? Remember, your value doesn't shrink because someone else fails to see it. By stepping back, you give them the chance to see what they've lost and understand just how valuable you truly are. And it's at this point, my friends, that they start to desire your presence like never before. Reason 6. The desire to be part of your new journey. Let's talk about the 6th reason why they'll start to want your presence after you've stepped away. The desire to be part of your new journey. This is all about the irresistible attraction they feel when they see you transforming into a new version of yourself. One that's stronger, happier, and more fulfilled. Imagine this. After stepping back and focusing on your own growth, you're no longer the person they once knew. You've been working on yourself, facing new challenges, exploring new interests, and generally evolving in life. They see this transformation from a distance, and it's like watching a flower bloom slowly. They're fascinated. Suddenly, you're no longer just that person they knew. You're someone exciting, someone on a journey that seems incredibly rewarding. Now, where does it get really interesting? As they watch your growth, something starts to shift inside them. They begin to realize that they're being left out. They see the positive changes in you, the new experiences you're having, and they start feeling the urge to be a part of this new chapter in your life. It's like being left out of an amazing adventure that everyone else is part of. And let's be honest, nobody likes feeling excluded. This desire isn't just about wanting to reconnect, but about wanting to be part of something fresh and exciting. Your growth, your journey, becomes something they want to experience alongside you. They start thinking about how they could fit into this new version of your life, how they could share your victories and be there for the next steps you take. But here's the thing, they know they can't just re-enter your life as if nothing has changed. They realize you've moved on, and if they want to be part of your new journey, they'll need to bring something more to the table. This realization makes them want to improve, to become better people to match your new, stronger version. So, how's your new journey going to look? How are you evolving and growing? Leave a comment below and share the new paths you're exploring. Remember, when you focus on your own journey, you create a life that naturally makes others want to be part of it. And that's when they'll start desiring your presence. Not for who you were, but for who you're becoming. Reason 7. The fear of losing you to someone else. All right, let's talk about the last reason why they'll start wanting your presence after you've stepped away. The fear of losing you to someone else. This one stings because it's driven by one of the most primal emotions, fear. Specifically, the fear that someone else might notice the amazing value they failed to see. Imagine this. You stepped back, focused on yourself, and started thriving. You're radiating confidence, independence, and living new experiences. They see this transformation, and suddenly, a terrifying thought arises. What if someone else notices this too? What if someone else steps in and wins you over? The thought of you moving on with someone new, someone who truly values you, creates a strong sense of urgency and fear in them. This fear isn't just about losing you, but about losing you to someone who sees what they didn't. It's the fear that someone else might experience the best version of you, the version they never took the time to appreciate. And let's face it, no one wants to see someone they had a connection with move on and be happier with someone else. This fear can be a powerful motivator. It forces them to rethink their actions and consider what they stand to lose if they don't try harder. It's the fear of being replaced, of seeing someone else make you happy, that makes them want your presence more than ever. Remember, when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally create a value that others won't want to lose. And that's when they'll realize they need to step up or risk losing you forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, everyone. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, the power to transform your life is in your hands. By focusing on your growth, embracing your high value, and recognizing the worth you bring, you create a life that others will naturally want to be part of. Keep moving forward, stay strong, and never settle for less than you deserve. Your journey is just beginning, and I can't wait to see where it takes you.